So, okay. So the presentation I'm doing today is on emotional intelligence and stress management, terms you've probably heard before. And I'm gonna try to keep the presentation short, and at any point, if you have any questions or you just want to, you have any thoughts, the presentation is fully interactive. Just uh cut me off or ask whenever you need to. Okay. So, so today we're going to talk about why you would want to even pay attention to working on your emotional intelligence, and how is it going to affect you in your university um, life? Because we're going to try to stay focused on the emotional intelligence that applies to your current era of life. Secondly, we're going to understand what are the components of emotional intelligence to kind of understand what it is, what it even means. And then lastly, we'll just see uh, how to apply emotional intelligence in different situations that that you will come across in daily life and in your future life to come. Okay, so but briefly, I'll say why I think I can talk about this is because, like Yasura said, this is my path of education and career, um, and each this whole thing probably is about 10 years long, and what I'm trying to get at is that I've been through it, and I can tell you from experience what those situations might look like and what I learned through them and what I wish I knew back then. Okay. The first thing that we talked about, why would you want to even improve this particular soft skill um, in a university setting or uh, in in your career, maybe in your job, you will have to handle anxiety with respect to your work or your academics if you're still a student. You need to have good people skills so that you can create better social structures, both in your university and when you go out and do your jobs. Having knowing how to deal with people and how to interact with people is really important. And thirdly, how it could help you make career decisions or decisions that will determine how you spend your life. Or any sort of this can apply to any sort of decisions, but for us, we'll just focus on career decisions. Okay, so basically, emotional intelligence is I've shortened it to four pieces. As you can see, it's made up of motivation, self awareness, empathy, and self regulation. So if you have a bunch of these characteristics, or if you're good at these characteristics, then would call you emotionally intelligent. So I'm gonna go through only two of them in detail. The rest are kind of self-explanatory, motivation and empathy, but if you have any questions on it, I can answer. So let's see what self-awareness is. It's pretty obvious when you say the word self-awareness, what it would mean. And basically, it is to be self-aware, have the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions, thoughts, and values and how they influence your behavior. It's basically your identity, your needs, your limitations, and your wants. So this is also, you could also say this as self-reflection, and this is basically to build your own identity in the world, which is really important to make decisions and have faith in them or not regret them or be confident. We'll apply it later, but self-awareness is a key factor in emotional intelligence. And the second one I want to talk about is self-regulation. And self-regulation is the ability to understand and manage your behavior and your reactions to feelings and things happening around you, which in a university setting, it could be exams, it could be assignments, it could be events, or classes, labs, whatever. And basically, it includes being able to regulate reactions to strong emotions like frustration, excitement, anger, and embarrassment. I'm sure everyone has gone through a bunch of these emotions at least once in their lifetime. Self-regulation helps you focus on a task because if you are able to keep emotions like frustration or anxiety regulated, which means you know how much anxiety you need and how much anxiety is bad for you, you can then go back and focus on the assignment that you wanted to do. And thirdly, you can control impulses. I guess that's pretty straightforward in the sense that if you know that something is an impulse, how to distinguish between an impulse and something that you actually want to do. And self-regulation will help you uh, get more control over your actions. Now I'm gonna touch on the fact that how do you even go about improving? I'm not gonna go into detail on how to do emotional intelligence, but my advice for it is to read as many self-help books as possible. The ones that speak to you, not all will work, and consume more information about the topic. Be more aware. There's tons of resources on the internet nowadays to have different uh, perspectives on the topic as well. So one of them might stick to you, and then practice it as much as you can, because if it's not currently what you do, it will take time for you to start doing those things automatically. And therapy is a great place to talk about these soft skills. You don't have to necessarily go to therapy just because of, you could go to it for a serious situation, but it's basically trying to understand yourself in a safe space, or just try to you can get a lot of coping skills when you go into therapy as well. So all of these are good resources on how to improve emotional intelligence, but from experience, it takes a lot of time to really nail down what works for you. So don't get discouraged when you can't figure out the exact sort of intelligent person that you want to be emotionally. It's gonna, depending on what set of constraints you have right now, it will depend how long you need to work on it or how much you need to work on it. So don't get discouraged. So let's just quickly go into places where you would apply emotional intelligence right now, which is stress management. You have, so situation is that you have an important exam coming up, right? And then you have a lot of material to cover, you procrastinated, and that's fine. So how could you use emotional intelligence to help you with that? Like we said, there were a few pieces to emotional intelligence. One piece that you could use is motivation, which is you might want to answer why performing well is important for you, or any other source of motivation that would help you decrease the stress or push you forward. You could use self-regulation because when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, you can figure out a coping mechanism that helps you feel more focused. Examples are music, walk, plan, talk to someone. Everyone will have a different way of coping. You could like maybe hang out or play games. Thirdly, self-awareness might help because you might need to know what is your how much rest do you need before the exam, and that is very specific to you. Someone else might not need the same amount of rest, but this is where self-awareness comes into play. You need to know what your limitations are and try to uh, approach the problem in that set of circumstances, because if the other person can only sleep for 2 hours and perform at their best, it doesn't mean that you can. So you have to be, you need to know where your limits are. Okay, and another example is a group project. So what happens is your teammate or the person in your group project seems distant and uninvolved, and you are stressed out about it. And the emotionally intelligent response would require two pieces. One would be empathy, which could look like when you invite an open conversation about what the other person position is on the matter, like what are they going through. Maybe empathy is basically providing them even space to begin saying their piece. um and then self-awareness, like what behaviors might have affected the other person's motivation towards the project. Have you been micromanaging, perhaps? Have you been too strict on deadlines? Or maybe you don't have structure and that's not how the person wants to go about the project. But with these approaches, you can at least try to understand why this happens and try to finish the group project in a less stressful way. And the third and the last application I have is overcoming obstacles. This is gonna happen to everyone many times in your life, and it's fine. It's part of life. Um, Examples will be you don't get the exam grade you wanted, or you get rejected at interviews, or some internship you wanted you didn't get through. You need emotional intelligence in that situation because um you want to move forward, and it can be not beneficial to stay at a point with shame and guilt. So you can use self-regulation to address these feelings that might keep you stuck, or well, generally also they are really hard feelings to have and they're not pleasant, so you just don't want to feel them anyways. And then also motivation can help you work towards improving your exam, or like the subject that you were giving the exam for, or prepare better for next interviews. So any feelings that comes with, or any doubt that comes um with when you face an obstacle, emotional intelligence can help you cross that hill of that obstacle emotionally, so that you're at least ready in mentally to approach the situation. Yep, and that's all of my presentation. And I'm on LinkedIn, and you can reach out whenever you want with questions or comments. And now I'm gonna open for further questions in the presentation.
Thank you, Iris. Everyone, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask. Yes, Asad has a question, please.
Yeah, hi. So thank you for the great session. Something I tend to struggle a lot with is that I recognize the importance of being self-aware. Like in at times, if it becomes too much, to I become too overly critical of myself. So do you have advice for how you can maintain a balance, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a good point. Self-awareness is is not equivalent to being self-critical, but I can understand why it would be part of it. To deal with self criticalness, which is very different from self-awareness, you could use empathy. You could be empathetic towards yourself, and try to understand that what you're going through is how it makes sense to you. Um, just have to be kinder to yourself. Does that make sense, or have you tried that?
Yeah, I do try that. I think I should maybe try to make it into a daily routine of sorts. Like I'm doing something nice for myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that might help.
Yeah, you just need to self-criticalness is a long lifelong process that you have to work towards. Um, and you can just convince yourself, like you can give yourself presents. Sometimes it works, and you just basically you have to work on self-acceptance and yeah, self-love. You have to convince yourself why you are, worthy, or it's not that bad. Like you have to convince yourself the mistakes you made um are part of it's part of who you are, and other people make mistakes too. So
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Yes, anyone else? Do you have any questions? Okay, we don't. I think you have pretty much explained everything, Iris. Um, I think if you guys have any other concerns, you can email us at cso@lumps.edu.pk, and you can connect with Iris on LinkedIn. Thank you all for your presence. Abdus Samad, yes. Okay, what does yes mean? Okay. Part of the discussion, can you guide how to build discipline? Okay, so he wants to know how to build discipline. Asad wants to know. Abdus
Oh,
Samad wants
right.
to know.
Yeah. For discipline, well, it's about controlling your impulses. It includes being focused on the task you want to. How to build discipline? You just have to. Well, one approach is to be very to be first is to understand why you want to build discipline. That will give you the motivation, like why even be in a miserable situation in the first place, like how building discipline would help you. Um, and then it's really about practicing, although it is a very it's a let me see any particular thing you could do. You could for example, you could make time blocks and be strict with your time management, or assign yourself certain blocks of time where you are trying to focus. Try to make your environment as distraction free as you can. Um, that could include being in the library, being away from your phone. Try to make the task of being disciplined as easy as you can on yourself. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris. Okay. Is there any other question before we end the session? I'm okay. Okay. No other question? Thank you so much for your presence. Stay tuned for our mentorship series. And thank you so much, Iris. We had a great session. Thank you so much for your presence. Allah Hafiz.